Behavioral economics and the related field, behavioral finance, study the effects of social, cognitive, and emotional factors on the economic decisions of individuals and institutions, and the consequences for market prices, returns, and the resource allocations. The fields are primarily concerned with the bounds of rationality of economic agents.
So who is the main subject of behavioral economics? Humans, of course. However, actual humans are always hard to predict and too complex to put in the equation as a variable. It is nearly impossible to integrate humans as a known variable into theoretical studies like behavioral economics.
So economics decided to use a model imitating actual humans called Homo economicus. In this theory, we assume humans are all rational and narrowly self-interest actors who have the ability to make judgments toward their subjectively defined ends.
One of the most well-known social researchers in the 20th century is Herbert Simon. He believes that humans should not be viewed as a rational maximizer, but as a sacrificer.
Unsurprisingly, humans made frequent systematic mistakes in their decision-making process. First of all, people tend to be overconfident. People overestimate their ability and knowledge, but at the same time underestimate the risk factor, exaggerate the ability to control events.
Secondly, people rely too much on vivid observations. A vivid observation is an event observed from a close acquaintance by the observer. People take too much stock on a friend's recommendation rather than looking at the data that says otherwise.
Thirdly, people are hard to change their mind. People are usually stubborn and strongly held with what they perceive. An argument trying to convince a person to believe otherwise may change one's opinion, but it also may make them deeper in their stand.
Humans are rational though sometimes. For example, of around 50,000 spider species known worldwide, only about 25 are known to be dangerous to human life, but a normal person would jump if they saw a small spider.
So why are economics built on rationality assumption when studies show humans sometimes can be irrational? That because that's the closest model we can come up with to imitate human behaviors.
People also care about fairness. Does fairness always mean a 50-50 split? No, fairness does not always mean an even share for parties in a compromise. It is usually an uneven split in the real world, where the underdog would be less beneficial with the share. However, the share would not be too low for him to reject the offer. For example, the application for Android revenue would be split into two parts. 70% would go to the app developers, and the other 30% would go to the distribution company. This standard was first thought up of by Apple.
But wait, people still commit more illogical fallacies, proving we are not as rational as the standard economic model thinks. People are inconsistent. This theory is also known as hyperbolic discounting. When people are given the option between two rewards, they almost always choose the sooner one. This is because humans prefer immediate satisfaction over a long-term benefit. Even if the long-term benefit is greater, the farther out the reward, the less people tend to value it or discount.
Here is an example for proof. Choose between doing A, a task immediately for 50 minutes, or B, doing the same task for 60 minutes tomorrow. Now choose between A, doing the same task for 50 minutes in 90 days, or B, for the same task for 60 minutes in 91 days.
When given these options, most people would choose B for the first questions and A for the second, despite it being the same two options. To a logical mind, this does not make any sense, since the passage of time should not affect the decisions. But in the real world, people like to procrastinate when faced a task immediately.
So how does this all apply to behavioral economics? When it comes to saving for retirement, the reward is so far in the future that it is heavily discounted. Therefore, people tend to choose the instant gratification of shopping and spending money instead. Another illogical fallacy is the status quo bias. People often prefer non-action to action, choosing the default option even if it's the wrong choice. For example, when it comes to magazines that they no longer read or use, they will let the company resubscribe them automatically rather than call up to cancel the order, which would take an action.
So in conclusion, behavioral economics is based on a theory where people aren't always rational. People tend to be overconfident, rely on vivid observation, and hard to change their mind. People favor fairness over inequalities, and also people tend to be inconsistent with decisions over time.